I'm a person of many interests, but something I don't really talk about much these days, despite being an absolute massive nerd for it, is tokusatsu. You know, pyrotechnics, rock quarry, guys in suits that hug their ass just right. It's a genre with a lot of history, and recently there's been some big news about one of its oldest institutions. You see, Super Sentai is a children's tokusatsu show that's been running non-stop since 1975. Almost every year for 50 years, a new team of transforming superheroes has appeared on TV screens across Japan, with new changers, new weapons, and a new giant robot that you, the viewer, can buy at your local Toys R Us. It's all very silly and goofy, but you better dapping believe I eat that shit up when a weird fuck-ass alien muppet gives a group of mechanics car magic powers. That fucking rules. Seriously, seeing what crazy shit like that they come up with every year is never not entertaining. But all of that is about to change, because after the current season wraps up, Sentai is going off the air. Is it permanent? Will it come back after a hiatus like its big sister Kamen Rider did in the 2000s? I don't know. All we know is that Space Sheriff Gavin is back, and he's red for an amazing reason. But yeah, in all honesty, this isn't as surprising as you might think. Sentai has been in a weird spot for years now, and the toy sales have just not been great. I've mostly just been a fly on the wall for a while now. I haven't watched a full season of Sentai in years, but even from afar it was clear that it was floundering even after multiple attempts to shake up the formula. And that's not even getting into the stupid bullshit involving the current Black Ranger's actress that this last season is always going to be associated with now. But you know what? If Sentai is going to go out on such a sad note, I'm going to get back in the game and look back on it in my own way. Because a lot of people worked on this, and these shows are full of passion and love for the craft that's just always a joy to see. But now the question is, how do we celebrate? I could talk about my favorite suits, my favorite mechs, maybe my favorite transformation devices, but I feel like that's all kind of old news. I mean, that's what gets all the attention. It's what all the toys are made of. But what about the guys who don't get toys? You know, the guys the Rangers fight every week. What would Sentai be without the monsters? Like, for example, my favorite Sentai monsters, the shadows from Ressha Sentai ToQger. Their dark, hyper-detailed, almost gothic style is just so good, and it works great as a foil to the really simple suits the Rangers wear. Almost every single one of them, it just looks so fucking good, and it really makes you want to keep coming back every week. Seriously, don't they deserve love too? Lots and lots of love. I think they do. In fact, it's got me wondering, which shadow do you think is the most fuckable? Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of a series that I'm calling Monster Smash, a show where I ask the hard questions about media's creepiest crawlies. Alien Cocoon Shibari, maybe? And before we get down to business, here are some content warnings. Yeah, I'm not kidding. I really am about to talk about the fuckability of almost every single monster from a children's TV show. So if you haven't decided to leave yet, you have like a minute or so to do that while I set the stage. Also, sorry, this is mostly a ToQger episode, but other teams will show up, I promise. Oh, yeah, and Toei loves to copyright strike shit, so I've commissioned some custom tunes, but if I have to, I'll just start doing shitty acapella covers or something. And trust me, nobody wants that, I'm a terrible singer. If you're not familiar with the show, don't worry, here's the rundown. Ressha Sentai ToQger is about a group of extremely whimsical individuals who board a fleet of trains called the Rainbow Line and fight with the power of imagination. Right, Tokachi, Mio, Hikari, and Kagura are the 5 core members of the ToQgers, but this video really isn't about them. Later on, they're joined by a mysterious railway worker looking to atone for his dark past by protecting the Rainbow Line as ToQ6, the Orange Ranger. Also, there's a blue monkey puppet. His name is Ticket, and I love him very much. Together, the ToQgers fight against the evil Shadow Line, the stars of today's show, a race of immortal monsters that want to cover the world in darkness by wreaking havoc and making humans give in to their negative emotions. The show starts with the Shadow Line preparing for the appearance of the Emperor, because he's supposed to lead the way in taking over the world with darkness, and everyone wants to get on his good side. There's Baron Nero, who uses the most orthodox methods of gathering darkness, General Schwartz, who wants to take over the world primarily through military force with his fleet of cool monster trains, and Madame Noir, a noblewoman with grand plans for her daughter Greta, who's been arranged to marry the Emperor. Unfortunately, she only has eyes for Schwartz. Okay, now you're in the know. Let's set some rules. 1. The monster must be a member of the Shadow Line. Basically, this means that they have to come from this specific season's group of villains, so while I will be covering some crossovers, I'll only be focusing on the monsters that come from the Shadow Line. 2. They must be a bespoke monster. That means no one from the stage show and no foot soldiers. Sorry, but they weren't going to make it very far anyway. 3. They must be an adult. This means that Greta is disqualified. While we don't know her exact age, her whole thing with being a young noble in an arranged marriage makes her very minor-coded, so I ain't fucking with that. And 4. They must be sapient. Essentially, they have to be able to consent. That means that weird fucking thing that the castle terminal turns into at the end of the show is disqualified. It's alive, but kind of more of a mech monster than a guy, so it's out of the running. The same goes for the regular mechs that the Shadow Line uses. The format's gonna be a little different this time. Instead of going through every category one by one, I'll just be eliminating the shadows as I go along, mostly judging on design, smoochability, and kink factor. Toku monsters live on kink factor, it's very important. We'll be working our way up from the bottom of the rankings to the top as we get closer and closer to the most fuckable member of the Shadow Line. Okay, we have like 45 monsters to get through, so without further ado, let's get this train moving. First up, we've got some guys with actively terrible powers for sex in my opinion, starting with Clock Shadow, the monster from the crossover movie with the Kyoryugers. Oh, them? They're a Sentai that transform and fight with dinosaur-powered batteries and battery-powered dinosaurs to face monsters that want to cause another mass extinction event. Also, there's Samba. But anyway, what does Clock Shadow actually do? Well, he can age you down, like, into a baby, with his magic clock song. Yeah, no thanks. Well, that was a pretty quick wrap on the Kyoryuger crossover. What the fuck? Second to last place goes to Wig Shadow, who has the power to give you an ugly-ass berries and cream wig that has a baby chick nesting in it. And if the bird dies, you die. Awesome. I guess you could call this Force Femme if you squint, or maybe just a really inscrutable BDSM situation. But if you're gonna put a baby in me and leave me to die, at least do it in a sexy way. Number 43 is Bomb Shadow. He's big, he's round, he's spiky, and he explodes, because he's a bomb. Don't worry though, he can shrink down into a weird little bomb spider, so maybe you could just fuck one of his little pincers. He can also create spiky bombs of various sizes, so theoretically, he could make you the worst anal beads ever. Maybe if you really like edge play, this guy is for you, but I think I'll pass. So now we're getting into guys who are just kinda nothing. So here's Overseer Pawn from episode 44. In fact, he's actually so forgettable that I forgot to note him down as I was rewatching the series for this. So yeah, he gets to go near the bottom. At least he looks kinda cool. Number 41 is Archduke Hay, a general from the Shadow Line who is apparently banished, but managed to unbanish himself in time for the post-series movie. He basically just exists because by this point all the other generals of the Shadow Line are dead, and he really doesn't do much to stand out other than have a funny hat. Not very sexy. Next. In the next two spots are two of the overseers in the towns fully captured by shadows that the ToQgers liberate over the course of the story. The overseers all have similar designs modeled after chess pieces, and while these two do look really sexy, they don't really have anything going for them otherwise. The whirligig saw is kinda cool, but not enough to save Bishop from his spot. Moving on. We are now entering the guys who shoot beam zone, starting with Count Nair, a movie-exclusive Shadow General. His whole deal is that he's an old-timey English huntsman, a perfect enemy for the ToQgers in their animal-themed movie forms. But that also makes him the perfect candidate to hunt you for sport, if that does anything for you. The problem is, he has no mouth to smooch, even if those tusks do look pretty grabbable. Oh well. Number 37 is Bag Shadow from the very first episode. Despite having two different faces to kiss, he doesn't do much besides have a spear that shoots projectiles. Not very bag-themed if you ask me. Bottle Shadow is pretty similar to Bag Shadow, but he has some extra things going for him. On top of the two smoochable faces, the beams he shoots are made of wine, so he can get you tipsy for some drunk sex. He also has a corkscrew spear that you may or may not be okay with letting near any of your holes. Either way, the best is yet to come. The next beam guy is Loop Shadow from episode 13. We're back down to one face to smooch, and the rim of the magnifying glass kinda gets in the way, but look at his cuteness. All of his little mannerisms also make him the first bottom-coated shadow, which could be good for you. Check out that suckable sundial, though. Oh, and he's not just a beam guy. He can also use his magnifying glass to enlarge objects. You know what that means. 2 dildos for the price of 1. I am a little worried about that monocle chain getting caught on something during sex, though. Our final projectile attacker is Coin Shadow from episode 26, a great episode for no particular reason. As you might imagine, this guy fires exploding coins. He probably makes for a great Findom, so here's your representation for that. But I personally have some concerns about what's going to be in my pussy if he comes inside me. He can make those coins non-explosive, right? Now we're getting to the guys with some truly unique abilities that could come in handy in the bedroom. So with that in mind, here's Jack-in-the-Box Shadow. How much you want to tongue his little keyhole probably depends on how much of a clown fucker you are. So here's your first bit of representation for that. Don't worry, there'll be more. His main ability is to summon a spring underneath you that sends you flying if you laugh. This also applies to him, so there's some role reversal potential there as well. This guy is probably great for you if you're a masochistic clown fucker who's into tickle play. Yeah, that's a little niche. Next up is Dr. Mavro from ToQger's crossover with Ninninger. Oh, you don't know them? Well, other than having a name that's horrible to look at if you're an English speaker, they're the Shuriken Sentai, ninjas who don't hide, fighting yokai with the power of nintality. Whatever that is. Oh, and their 6th ranger is Star Ninja, an American guy in a Stetson who transforms with a burger-shaped phone. Because America is cowboys and hamburger. Anyway, Dr. Mavro is the scientist of the Shadow Line who is presumably too busy watching Naruto to appear in the main series. So here he is. His claim to fame is defeating Takaharu, this guy here, and forcing Ninja Ghost into him to create an evil shadow clone of his ranger form. So I guess if you want a weeb to restrain you and force other men inside you, he's your man. The sound his head makes in his full monster form is kind of a deal breaker though. Number 31 is Ring Shadow, who has the power to give you migraines simply by saying your name. Yay! Obviously, he's another great one for masochists, but is there even a specific kink for, like, headaches? That's a genuine question. My research isn't giving me anything. Anyway, you could also call this guy Gay Stereotype Shadow because he's fruity as hell, like to an actually offensive degree. Listen to this. What did Toei mean by this? Fence Shadow would just be a beam guy, if not for the fact that he can, in fact, trap you with fences. No, he can also electrify them. How thrilling. To all the people in my audience who have a leash in their dresser drawer, here's your first chance to experience pet play from a shadow. Well, as the pet, but we'll get there. The problem is his whole body is covered in the world's most literal chastity cage. Listen, no shame if you're into that, but that's gotta take like 10 years to get off, which I guess is fine if you're an immortal shadow, but you probably aren't. Stove Shadow here has some very interesting anatomy that I think helps him stand out from other projectile guys. First, we've got that tube around his waist, perfect for grabbing onto. And the hot coals he fires come from a cavity in his torso, complete with an opening door. This makes it super easy to get inside him, and the door itself has a nice strokeable handle. The problem with this guy is that hot coals are obviously not great unless you're into something like branding. Plus, where do they even come from? Once again, I'm afraid of what happens when this guy orgasms. At number 28, we have Dollhouse Shadow, and we're already off to a great start with those hair tendrils just begging to be pulled and those super kissable lips. Best smooch factor so far. He has the power to shrink you down and put you in a little dollhouse. He can bring the objects in the dollhouse to life, so with some proper planning and communication, you might be able to create some interesting scenarios if you're into the whole being a tiny doll thing. Points for uniqueness, I guess. At first glance, Bucket Shadow is pretty unappealing. His giant cylindrical trash can body is not conducive for straddling. even if he does have big handles to pull him closer. Also, he is not passing the fingernail check with those big-ass claws, so how did he even make it this far? Well, he eats and leaves no crumbs. Literally. This guy is the most obvious vor rep, but do vor enjoyers actually like the idea of being eaten by a giant trash can? I don't know. If you're not into vor, you might think that his crazy appetite could be good for eating you out, but I'm not so sure about that. I mean, he doesn't have a tongue and his mouth is a trash can lid lined with spikes. I'm not letting this guy near my pussy. Human furniture fans, your time has come. Table Shadow's ability to flip objects over makes going from missionary to doggy a breeze. And Chair Shadow's ability to stick you to any chair and zap you if you sit on him could make for some fun BDSM times. The problem is, they come as a package deal, like attached at the hip level. Yeah, I don't really want to fuck two brothers at the same time. Or three, for that matter. Oh, here's a fun one. Stamp Shadow from episode 7. As his name implies, he stamps you, and this stamp basically makes you supernaturally lazy. There are 2 big points in his favor. First, his stamp leaves a distinct brand on you, perfect for people with marking kinks. We only ever see him stamp faces, but he can probably put it on any intimate part of the body you desire. Second, his stamp robs you of all motivation. Could be a big hit if you're into the whole bored and ignored thing. There's just one problem. The stamp literally makes it so that you don't care at all, so that probably means you wouldn't actually be able to get off to any of this. Terrible design flaw. Tank Top Shadow comes in at number 23, and he's the other monster from the post-series movie. When he's in full humanoid form, he doesn't really do anything other than fight with coat hangers, but he can, in fact, turn into a living tank top. So if you're big into living clothing, this is really the only guy on the list who can do that for you. Here's the catch. He can only be a tank top. So no, he can't be your panties, or your bra, or your boxers. How unfortunate. Would you look at that, our first Shadowline General from the main series. It's Baron Nero, one of the most devout followers of the Emperor of Darkness. He's a classic aristocrat, so if that flavor of book talk romance strikes your fancy, here you are. While his only real abilities are hat toss and dark energy laser, we spend some more time with him, so it's easier to think of some scenarios. For example, maybe you're a particularly troublesome human that he needs to attend to personally, if you know what I mean. Mayhaps he can extract more than just darkness from you. I gotta say though, the Plague Doctor Mask nose thing ruins his smoochability. Can he even take that off? Would you look at that, our second Shadowline General from the main series. If you've seen the show, I don't even have to tell you what's appealing about this guy. It already gives you a template to work from. His whole deal being the main military man though, I'm not so sure about. Maybe if you have a thing for bearded guys, but his outfit is highly questionable, if you ask me. I don't really want to lick those beards, let alone his penis. We're done here. Ah, Chain Shadow. You'll never guess what this guy does. Okay, so obviously he's a bondage master. He can chain you up and lock you in a coffin. Options are always nice, even if the coffin does come with non-optional shrinkage. Oh well, that's another one for Dollhouse Shadow fans. Also, he knows how to play the piano. Now that's sexy. But here's the catch. One of his arms is a giant chain link. That thing is going to take up so much bed space. Yeah, I'll pass. Oh hey, cool skull. This is Tombstone Shadow, and he looks like he walked right out of a Spirit Halloween. And if you're like me and you love spooky season, then that is very sexy. He has the power to revive shadows from the dead by consuming darkness. You know what that means? Fully customizable shadow orgy. Hell yeah. No matter what you're into, this guy's ready to birth it fully formed from his weird mausoleum cavity, which could be some kind of sex organ that you can pleasure if you want. That's all really awesome, but, he's a bit of an oddball. Okay, you know what? He's got an awesome power and all, but maybe he can just stay off to the side. Well, this guy looks familiar. It's Overseer Knight. But how'd he get so far ahead of his identical co-workers? Well, I'll tell you what, it's not because of his super speed, because that's provided by his trusty steed Justaway. And Justaway is a horse. Justaway cannot consent. No, this guy made it this far because the Shadow Town that he oversees is enchanted with numerous quizzes that require you to make a choice, or else you get punished. See where I'm going with this? I'm just saying, maybe he could put in a good word and make it like sexy choices or something. Yeah, maybe that's a stretch. Definitely has the sexiest design of all the overseers though. At number 17, we have Billiard Shadow, and already we can see his thrusting technique on display. Look at the way he strokes his rod. I gotta ask though, is that pool cue body safe? But seriously, everyone knows billiards is just inherently sexy. This guy is built to bend you over a table. I really hope the whole shooting people like billiard balls thing isn't mandatory though. Also, what if the balls in the rack on his forehead fall out during sex? Total mood killer. Next up is Saber Shadow, who forces people into duels whenever he wants. In the context of the show, this means combat, obviously, but who's to say it can't be a duel of sex? You know, something like whoever comes first loses, or something like that. Better hope he's a quick shot. Great design, by the way, even if there is no mouth to smooch. The handguard shoulder pauldrons are so extra, I love it. I just wish he wasn't such a bad sport. If he cheats in his own duels, that can only bode poorly for his bedroom etiquette. Bye-bye. This beautiful man is Hammer Shadow, and you really have to admire his cuteness. Doesn't he kind of look like Lego Clayface? See? Super cute. So Hammer Shadow can tap you with his tiny hammer and bring your deepest desires to life. Then he smashes them. He's our first contender who really specializes in humiliation kink. So if having your dreams literally shattered is your thing, this guy can do that for you. We also see him get tied up, which might be great for you if you're more of a dom, but it's kind of unclear if he's actually into that or not. If none of that is appealing, I guess you can like smash your penis flat if you have one of those. If not, you're just out of luck. He sucks, he blows. Need I say more? Vacuum Shadow from episode 14 actually ended up landing in the spot that lines up with his episode number, and he's all about giving you the good suck. His unparalleled blowjob skills also come with some more vor potential, because we do see someone get sucked into the vacuum bag. Also, I'm not so sure if he's feeling good or bad here, but it does look like the vacuum bag could be some kind of erogenous zone. At the very least, there's potential. I should say though, it doesn't seem like he can suck gently. It's tornado sloppy or nothing, I guess. Also, his elephant trunk kind of gets in the way of his mouth, and unlike a real elephant, it doesn't really seem like he can move it by itself, so it's not like he could easily jerk you off or penetrate you with it either. Oh, wait, speaking of elephants, this guy got me looking if there was a name for that thing where elephants intertwine their trunks, and I just learned so many fun facts about elephant sex that might apply to this guy. Yeah, you might already know that they can move their penis around a lot, but there's so much more than that. You see, male elephants go into a rut-like state called must about once a year, and it can last multiple months. Only days if you're unlucky though. Better luck next year. During this period, they secrete a liquid called temperin from a gland near their temples, although I think the name rut fluid is a lot funnier. Basically, it lets other elephants know they're ready to fuck. Oh, and get this, males will do a pussy taste test by collecting vaginal secretions with their trunk, and if the vibes are right, then they get to mating. For an entire 45 seconds. Yay! Oh wait, one last thing. Going into must makes males piss themselves uncontrollably. Somehow, someway, a piss kink representative managed to find its way into this video. You know, this makes me wonder, what about Tusk from ToQger? The guy who's an elephant? Sentai seasons last all year, and while I haven't seen ToQger all the way through, I highly doubt they show him going into must. There's a simple explanation for this actually. What? You haven't seen ToQger? They're the animal Sentai. Most of them are furries called Zumans that come from another dimension called Zooland, and they have to stop an evil group of alien big game hunters called Death Galians by killing them in Minecraft. This was actually the 40th anniversary series for Super Sentai, and they even got a crossover with the 35th series, ToQger. Oh, who are the ToQgers? They're the pirate Sentai who fight with the powers of all the Sentai that came before them. They're actually a polycule of aliens who came to Earth in search of the One Piece. I mean, the greatest treasure in the universe. They start off as scrappy pirates who are supposedly just in it for the treasure, but over time they learn to be real heroes while fighting the evil space empire Zengyak. ToQger is widely considered to be one of the best seasons of Super Sentai, and I definitely agree. It's really no surprise when the head writer also wrote the best season of Kamen Rider. But you know who wrote the season after ToQger? Yasuko Kobayashi, who also wrote ToQger. Her most famous work is probably Kamen Rider Den-O, but her most influential work is almost certainly Kamen Rider Ryuki. Without it, how else would we have things like Madoka Magica or Ryuki but worse? You know, Kamen Rider Gaim is the only Kamen Rider show that I actually wouldn't mind airing in America. It has enough depth, mature themes, and... what was that? Okay, sorry, back on track. You know, this episode is not great for smoochability, but Hound Shadow from the summer movie still stands out because he's a talking wolf man. I think this guy really outshines his boss. I mean, he's got a fun design and he's one of the closest things to a werewolf we have on this list. The appeal is obvious. But while he looks cool, all those spikes could be a real annoyance. Like, what if you go to give him a kiss and that bear trap shuts? Yikes. Next up is a Shadowline General from the main series that I haven't mentioned yet, Miss Marchioness Mork herself. She helped raise the Emperor, and she is a major player in the second half of the show. She's constantly making big Mork moves and plays, and that initiative is really sexy. She's also rocking fishnets and a sternum window, and check out that beauty mark. All of that is really awesome, but she's also kind of a control freak. She's constantly pushing the Prince of Darkness to do what she wants, so who's to say you'll get what you want during sex? Kind of a red flag. Number 11 is Spotlight Shadow, and he's certainly got some interesting anatomy. Like, are those actual rigged stage lights? Do you need stagehand experience to fuck this guy? I'm not sure. Doesn't matter though. That's not why he's so high up on the rankings. No, get this. He can bring fictional characters to life by shining his spotlights on their source material. We mostly see this happen with classic fairy tale characters, but most importantly, we see a character from someone's imagination get brought to life as well. That's right, Spotlight Shadow can bring your OCs to life. You don't even need a drawing or anything, you can just make somebody up in your head. It definitely raises some questions though. Are these fully realized people with wants and needs? How does that work? Anyway, even if we don't worry about that, sometimes they just come out wrong, and by that I mean like completely out of character, which could be a big problem. And finally, by the nature of this competition, Spotlight Shadow still has to be involved. This is a ranking of fuckable shadows, so at the very least he has to be present. Just hope that he doesn't blind you with his lights from the corner when you're getting into it with your favorite anime woman or something. Okay, we finally made it to the top 10. There's gonna be some potentially major spoilers from here on out, so you've been warned. I've been trying not to spoil the show's biggest twist, but things are definitely about to get wild. No, wrong season. Oh wait, never mind, carry on. In 10th place is none other than the Dark Lord himself, Emperor Zet. First appearing pretty early on in human form, Zet is a major shakeup to the more episodic nature of ToQger's early episodes, and he's a pretty interesting guy. Despite being the heir to the shadow line that's expected to help consume the world with darkness, Zet has a curious fascination with everything that shines. Tragically, his nature as a shadow makes it impossible for him to embrace the light, and he's still an enemy to the ToQgers because he's not afraid of using force to take what he wants. After getting consumed by Greta and then consuming her right back, Zet gains not one, but two different monster forms, and both are really, really awesome. The first form, with the exposed chest and long coat, makes him look a hell of a lot like a Devil Trigger design out of DMC, and I'd be lying if I said those weren't sexy as fuck. The belly button eye is kinda scary though, I can't lie. The inclusion of pants does seem to imply some kind of genitalia though, although you could say that about any shadow general, I guess. Whatever's under there doesn't matter too much anyway, I'm not picky. His second, more powerful form ditches the clothes and replaces the eye with a Kamen Rider Typhoon belt for some reason. Would it feel good for him if you blew into it? One can only hope. I'd say the first form is more sexy, if only because the second one has a lot of pointy bits that are definitely going to be more hit or miss depending on your tastes. Plus, having clothes to take off is objectively sexier. Foreplay is important, you know. Also, clothes sex is a luxury with these shadows, so you gotta take it where you can get it. The reason he's only number 10 is pretty obvious, I think. He definitely has a type, and who knows if you'll fit that description. Do you really want him to be hitting it from the back and constantly telling you to shine more for him? Yeah, no thanks. Personally, I'm fine with admiring from afar. Fuck yes, sound the MILF alarm, because number 9 is Madame Noir. She's got the corset, she's got the boob window, she's got the sexy belts, she really has it all. In addition to her top-notch design, she also has magic feathers that can make you highly aggressive, maybe even sexually aggressive if she wants. We'll call that sex under the influence. Wait, what the fuck is that? Oh, those are probably the remains of her husband, who she consumed. Yeah, she can do that. Remember how I just said that Greta did this to Zet? Yeah, she got it from her mom, so that makes Noir the final true Vor representative, if you're into that. Personally, I'll pass. I just don't have the time to get absorbed when there are so many more monsters left to fuck. Also, I don't want to kiss the melted husband head, sorry. We are back to the workaday shadows with number 8, Bubble Shadow. At the surface level, this guy might not seem so appealing. Well, he could maybe soap up your titties. He has that giant soap brick head. Not very sexy. The holes in his forearm flower petal things can be plugged up, so maybe you can fuck them. But soap in your urethra is generally not recommended. None of that really matters though, because with a blast of his bubbles and a wave of his arms, he can perform a body swap between two people. You can already imagine this has insane sex potential. Like you can try out different genitalia, fuck yourself as your partner. The world is your oyster, really. Unfortunately, there is one huge drawback. If you stay body swapped for too long, you and whoever you swapped with will die. While the time limit seems to be decently long, you can't exactly be having marathon sex. I'm sorry to all the lesbians in the audience. Also, he probably can't swap himself, which is unfortunate because, again, he has to be there. You know what that means. Number 7 is none other than Syringe Shadow from episode 33. Remember that edge play thing I mentioned? This guy is the master of it. In the show, he holds an entire town hostage by forcing them to wear wristbands that slowly inject lethal poison into them. Once you have a wristband on you, you're basically forced to follow his directions under threat of death. Akira notes that this is one of his many experiments, so it's clear he has a mind for excitingly dangerous scenarios. Of course, this is all very extreme, but I'd like to put forward some ideas for people who don't really like the idea of being poisoned, which I guess is kind of understandable. His name is Syringe Shadow, not Poison Shadow, so technically speaking, he could probably inject you with just about anything. The most obvious applications besides poison could lead to some force femme or force mask scenarios. If you really use your imagination, then really the sky's the limit. Like maybe he could inject you with something that turns you into a furry, or he could just straight up drug you if you want that. There is that. Unfortunately, you're probably not going to go for this guy if you're more vanilla. He's definitely one for the thrill seekers. Also, if you're afraid of needles, well, yeah, this guy is an obvious pass. This scary clown man is Marionette Shadow from episode 9, and he is a strong contender thanks to his excellent puppeteering skills. In the episode itself, Marionette Shadow takes control of the men in the town the ToQgers are stopped at, and after using them to seduce women, he has them turn around and break their hearts to create darkness. The ToQgers, mostly Mio, obviously save the day and break the spell, and everyone who was controlled has no memory of their time as a puppet. Now that quick summary has 2 very important details. 1. Marionette Shadow can control you. This one's pretty obvious. I mean, he's the puppet guy. We only see him controlling men, but his powers probably just work on anyone. Either way, this makes him one of the best representatives for CNC. Emphasis on the first C. 2. People who are puppeteered by Marionette Shadow don't remember anything after he's no longer in control of them. This combos nicely with point 1 because it means he can have his way with you and you'd be none the wiser. Perfect for people into things like somnophilia. I guess if you don't like the sound of that, there are also the little marionettes on his body that can act autonomously. He uses them as a restraint, so make of that what you will. As powerfully sexy as his abilities are, he's still a scary clown with scary living clown marionette legs, so send him to the cuck chair. We're entering the top 5 with Film Shadow, and this guy has a little bit of everything. But first, check it out, the dorsal tubes are back. Fuck yes. His film reel canister beret is also pretty cute, I can't lie. Film Shadow's abilities are incredibly versatile. He can tie you up with film, he can teleport, he can record your dreams, he can even set you on fire. Wait, what? Basically, he can bring the magic of movies to life, and obviously this power could be used to play out any number of scenarios that cater to a wide range of tastes. We see him spawn planes, a T-Rex, and even a UFO when he attacks the ToQgers with his film powers. Can he do a xenomorph next? Also, something to consider here is that pornography is a genre of film. This guy can probably reenact every sex scene with perfect accuracy. This guy is only number 5 because he's definitely more of a dominant. He firmly plants himself in the director's chair, so if you're not a sub, there's gonna be some creative differences. Also, what if he comes and his shoulder guns fire off? Yikes. Finally, we got some more smoochable lips. This guy is Fountain Pen Shadow, and he is the ultimate humiliation kinkster. He uses his magic ink to give you a grade of 0, which makes you lose all of your self-worth. With one splash of ink, he can make you fall into absolute despair, which could be a huge turn-on if you like it when people are mean to you. And if you don't, well, don't worry, because he focuses his attacks on a college campus. Seriously, nothing is sexier than terrorizing business majors. In that ink, do you think that's safe to go, you know, in my... Anyway, this guy is still a loser, because those giant fingers probably aren't going to fit in any of your holes, and otherwise they're just gonna get in the way. Unfortunate. 0. The next shadow comes from one of my favorite episodes, Tokachi Dies at Sunset. It's none other than Type Shadow, and he has the ability to create titles and apply them to objects by slapping the typewriter keys on his body. Once the title comes out, whatever it says comes true, no matter what. If you haven't realized where I'm going with this, consider the following. Typewriter Shadow can make literally anything happen, and unlike Film Shadow, he's not limited by existing media. On top of that, anyone can make a title as long as they can touch him, which makes him a great switch. Sadly, he's also the third and final monster clown in this roundup, so once again, the curse of clown prevents him from reaching number 1. Oh well, third place isn't that bad. Oh my god, I'm getting a little flustered about this next one. I think I'll let him speak for himself. Yeah, I know. He's out of my league. No, he's so sexy though. Okay, that's 44 monsters down, only one more left to rank. And personally, I think that number 1 is the obvious winner. Well, would you look at that? Tokyo 6 himself. Remember that dark past I mentioned? Well, before he became a worker for the Rainbow Line, Akira was actually a high-ranking member of the Shadow Line named Zaram, who worked directly with Schwartz. With the power to create rain, he caused despair by ruining all sorts of events and robbing people of happy days in the sun. One fateful day, he saw a rainbow after his rain cleared, and from that point on, he decided to leave the Shadow Line and dedicate his life to protecting rainbows and the happiness they bring. But seriously, this guy has it all. He's got Gap Moe, he's great with kids and animals, he can lay down some sick tunes on his harmonica, he goes around in a tight tank top that shows off his pants, and his monster form is super sexy. At any time, he can transform into a cool cowboy wolfman with cute little ear fluff and crotchless pants. I wonder if he goes into heat. So yeah, with all that in mind, Akira is disqualified. Yeah, despite being my personal favorite character in the show, Akira is actually our final disqualification. Other than just not being affiliated with the Shadow Line anymore, Akira hates his shadow form. It only ever shows up as a last resort, and he's never happy to use it. He wants nothing more than to live and die as a human who protects the Rainbow Line, and he even takes on a new name when he starts fighting with the ToQgers. And remember, we're ethical monster fuckers here, so I feel like asking him to fuck you in his shadow form would be like a really bad idea. Yeah, I never specifically said he was first place. Let's go ahead and see who the real winner is. When Zet first appears, we see him shirking his responsibilities as the Emperor of Darkness so that he can go have some sparkly fun at an amusement park instead. When the generals of the Shadow Line go out to meet their long-awaited majesty, they're instead greeted by Zet's most trusted confidant and personal bodyguard, Lamp Shadow. This guy is just too fucking sexy. He's got a cool fucking scythe and a sick design with nice grabbable chest protrusions and a midsection that tapers off into a nice suckable point. His voice is pretty sexy too. He also displays a number of different abilities, including flame generation, memory playback, and vision projection, and of course he's got some good projectiles. Most importantly though, he has the power of hypnosis. He can force you into any role he wants, so obviously this guy is the champion of CNC. Emphasis on the first C. Of course, CNC is fairly niche, so what does he have going for him otherwise? Well, he's got the bodyguard appeal, duh. That can obviously play out in a number of different ways. Whether you're a top, a bottom, a sub, a dom, a sadist, a masochist, or even if you're just plain vanilla, this guy will remain fiercely loyal. Lamp Shadow is just the perfect all-rounder while still having some specialties up his sleeve. It's really no surprise that he came out as the absolute sexiest member of the Shadow line. Well, all of that was good, silly, sexy fun, but I just want to take a sec to say I really do love the character designs in this show. The designer of the shadows was Tamotsu Shinohara, and he absolutely killed it with them. They're just so cohesive and full of really cool details to the point where you could be noticing something new every time you watch them in action. I just love the attention to detail that goes into a good toku monster, so I'm glad I got a chance to give them the attention they deserve.
Hey,
oh my god, what the
We've
fuck is
detected
that?
a crazy amount of Shadowline activity around here. What do you think you're doing here?
I mean, there aren't any shadows here. I was just talking about them.
What? Are you stupid?
I mean, no. I just wanted to show how fuckable they all are.
What?
Thanks so much for watching the first official episode of Monster Smash. I've already gotten a few suggestions, and of course I have several ideas of my own, but I'm curious who you all want to see me talk about smashing next. Let me know in the comments. Oh, also, if you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like, sharing, or even subscribing if you want to see more of my stuff. Okay, until next time.